fictionalized adventures of real-life ghost hunting couple Ed and Lorraine Warren, this time investigating the Enfield poltergeist, one of the most infamous hauntings in British history. In 1976, a single mother and her 4 children claimed that the moving furniture and demonic voices plagued their home. This case attracted a lot of media attention and was investigated by many paranormal experts, including the Warrens, although their involvement is a bit exaggerated for the movie. Much like the Warrens' most famous case, the Amityville Horror, which was brought up in the beginning of the film, the Enfield poltergeist has been the subject of speculation on whether or not everything was faked, but of course this film portrays it as an actual haunting. Okay, so I'm not gonna judge this film on how accurate or truthful the story is. When some horror films use the based on a true story angle, the key word here is based on, or inspired by, so we're probably not really meant to take these at face value. Although there are probably some people who do. Was the Enfield poltergeist a hoax? Who knows? And who knows if the Warrens were actually frauds? I personally don't have a side on whether or not there is another side, or an opinion on the existence of ghosts. But if there are ghosts, or demons, or poltergeists, they're probably a bit more subtle than how they're usually portrayed in these movies. Compared to the original, this one seems to fall a little into the more effects-heavy, over-the-top horror that's become popular over the last decade. Which is kind of a shame because I really liked the first Conjuring film, and how it was a sort of homage to the more old-fashioned, slow-building horror of the classics, focusing more on mood and atmosphere than on jump scares. This film has plenty of spooky atmosphere, and the story and characters are engaging and likable, but there was probably some pressure from the studio for this one to be a bit more mainstream horror than the first one. Or it could just be director James Wan falling back into his more usual directing style. I've always kind of felt that he could have the potential to be as good a horror director as his famous predecessors, but he seems to hold himself back to more modern genre cliches, even though he really shines in his more subdued films. And to be fair, this is still loads better than some of the horror films we've already gotten this year. Well, except The Witch, that movie was amazing. But even this film is sort of a nice change of pace from the recent slew of artsy indie horror, which, as great as those are starting to get a bit redundant in its style. This film is a nice middle ground between something like The Babadook and something like The Boy. It's a bit more energetic, but still tries to focus more on providing genuine scares. Like I said earlier, the movie isn't perfect. The improved special effects weigh down the film instead of elevate it, and this movie is long. They probably could have left a few scenes on the cutting room floor, like Patrick Wilson's musical number. No, really. But this is still a fun, spooky ghost flick with plenty of genuine scares and thrills to please fans of the original. So I would definitely recommend this film, although make sure you watch it in a crowded theater because that is always the best way to watch a horror film.